Alright, welcome back everyone. Beacon of Hype here. We are finally getting underway with the fourth and final Virtual Murder Series game here. I'll let the typewriter answer what the title is. Yep. Who killed Taylor French? The case of the undressed reporter, which I'll give a spoiler alert. In all three of the scenarios, she has clothes on, so I'm not sure what the title means, but what can you do? So, again, this is the fourth and final virtual murder game that was developed. So we have, and I think this is the best of the bunch because, again, with where they had their beginnings with Who Killed Sam Rupert, all the way up to this one, they've added scenarios, they've added plenty of different layers to the games to help us get more enjoyment out of it, and some of the characters are just, funny, quirky in their own way, so it's just interesting to see how, they applied the storylines and have them crisscrossing each other the way they do, like in a lot of crime investigations, I'm sure. So we're going to go ahead and get underway here. I think this one will just I think the how to play, it's pretty standard to the other games, but they're going to show obviously different screenshots and be given a tutorial like we always are.
90% of the murders solved in the United States are solved within the first 6 hours. This is the premise for solving Taylor French's death. Every step of your investigation takes a certain number of minutes. A clock in the upper right corner of your screen keeps track of the time you have left. The murder must be solved in 2 stages. The first stage, which you are looking at, provides all the major facts, details, and forensic tests available to you as detective. Report of the murder can be played as many times as you like. It doesn't take any time off the clock. The report is narrated by your assistant, Lucy Farewell, and provides the basic facts of the case. The crime scene, complete with corpse, has been left by the crime scene team for your examination. You can click on any object on the screen for a closer look. You can also execute a number of forensic exams on many objects. Suspects is the place where you can find out more about the people with both motive and means, and what they were doing at the estimated time of death. The interviews were conducted by Lucy and were recorded on video. Witnesses provide information and leads on possible suspects and their motives to kill someone like Taylor. In alibis, you can access Lucy Farewell's report on each suspect's alibi. Other sources are available for your examination. They include a closer look at Taylor's office. You can also look through the victim's desk at home to search for additional clues. Non-testimonial evidence is where you'll get a judge's permission to fingerprint all the major suspects, as well as get other pertinent information, like shoe size and type of car they drive. This allows you to compare results with clues you have found elsewhere. There's an autopsy report explaining the exact cause of death. You can find out about Taylor's last day by listening to phone messages from her office voicemail and her home answering machine. Taylor's notes from a story she was recently pursuing will shed some light on the controversy surrounding her dynamic style. Once you've narrowed down the suspects, you have to face a press conference. You agree to 10 questions. If you answer 7 of them correctly, you can advance to the second stage of the investigation. In this section, you are allowed to interview up to 3 suspects to collect the final facts for your case. Any one of them may provide that crucial clue that solves the murder. Once you think you have your man or woman, you can proceed to warrant application. There you must provide the evidence that supports your choice of murderer. The judge may grant you a warrant or deny it. It depends on the strength of your application. Wherever you are in the game, when there are 30 minutes remaining, you will automatically default to the press conference. If you complete it successfully, you can use your remaining time to file a warrant application. Once you have a warrant, you can make your arrest. Like report of the murder, the arrest is free. You may be correct, you may be dead wrong. This is is where you find out. And if you aren't right, and you still have 20 minutes left, you can make another arrest. Even an incorrect arrest can teach you something. At any point in the game, you can access help for further explanation. Good luck. You can start any time by pressing Begin Investigation.
Alright, so there you go. So, essentially the same exact framework as the other games, but it's always good to get a little refresher on how to capitalize on every aspect that you can. So, we'll go to crime-solving hints.
Since you only have 6 hours to solve the murder, you must use every minute wisely. Pay close attention to details. How someone says something maybe is as important as what they say. No clue is too small to consider. No clue too small to help you solve the case. As you accumulate facts, try to eliminate suspects. Then pursue those who remain. Although it takes time, it's a good idea to interview most of the suspects up front. Remember to review your notes before calling a press conference. The press can ask tough questions, and stupid questions too. You have to be prepared for both. One last thing. Always be on the lookout for a suspect who reveals something they shouldn't know. Now, good luck.
And we definitely know, if you've been following this series of mine on here, we definitely can agree with the chief about the press asking stupid questions that usually have nothing to do with the crime, but they're in there, and it's a way of throwing us off, I guess. So, right, so let's start with Begin Investigation. And this is where we are given the option of selecting which murder scenario we want to go with. So we're going to start, obviously, with murder scenario number 1. And begin. Great thing about these games, obviously, they all have their own soundtrack. So this one's more Unsolved Mysteries-like, for sure. Now let's start the report of the murder.
The victim's name is Taylor French, age 33, height 5 foot 4 inches, weight approximately 115 pounds. She's a reporter at the Carthage News, their best, according to editor Marilyn Underwood. Her body was discovered by the mayor's wife, Joni Armistead, at about 9:40 last night. Mrs. Armistead was taking a walk in the Carthage Town Park off Raleigh Road. She lives right nearby and says she often walks at that hour with the sun setting so late right now. The body was about 200 yards inside the park, right next to the base of a public drinking fountain. French was wearing jogging gear. Originally, it looked like an accidental death, caused by slipping against the concrete base of the fountain. She was found lying face down in a pool of her own blood coming from a blunt trauma to the right side of her head. But a further examination of the crime scene reveals that there was a second injury to the back of French's head. This rules out an accidental death. French's reporting was known for its controversial subject matter. Her boss says she regularly stirred up lots of feeling and response from her readers. French's work last year on uncovering environmental violations at the Orinka landfill helped close it. Rumor has it that the work was nominated for a Pulitzer. As if that's not enough, French was known to be previously dating Orinka's owner, Al Leonetti. Ex-lovers and the landfill business sound like an explosive mix to me. Her current series is on spouse battering. She's profiling a battered woman as she makes her way through the social service net, from shelter to court to a new life on her own. The profile is being done anonymously, but a man named Tom Washington has taken it into his head that he's the one being profiled, and he doesn't like it. Marilyn Underwood has hired a plainclothes security guard for the newspaper offices after a bomb threat was phoned in, and Washington may have been stalking French. It's hard to tell. There are no immediate significant clues except one. A photograph of the victim was found in the bushes a few feet away from the body, with an X scratched across the face. Taylor French was also wearing a Walkman at the time she was killed.
Early 90s.
The tape is probably music, but we brought it into headquarters anyway. We've roped off the water fountain area in the park. We're checking out her office and her home. We've also tried to notify closest of kin, but it's turning out that she only has one cousin who lives in Oregon. Linda Roth, a woman claiming to be her best friend who lives in the same condo complex, has been handling the details.
Yeah, I had to include that little comment during the whole report of the murder because I forgot I failed to mention here that these are all like from the early 90s, so some of you may not even know what a Walkman was. So there are these things called cassette tapes that used to play to actually listen to music or interviews in this case. So this little thing here is a recording of such. Alright, so let's go to the crime scene. I don't think we have anything from Lucy yet. Again, Lucy Farewell, just like in the previous game, is being played by a very well-known actress from Twin Peaks and other work, Cheryl Lee. I'm glad that they actually utilized her for both the installments that she was in. I feel like it did give a sense of credibility, especially with Twin Peaks being primarily about her character's murder and an investigation into all the different weird goings on in the town. So it's very, very fitting that she's involved. So let's see here. So for the forensic help, it usually kind of will show different things that we can look at here. So let's see, nothing from her. So if we click on fingerprints, it just says what it does. The test allows you to take fingerprints, palm prints off objects using one of several suitable agents: graphite powder, super glue, even scotch tape. Prints can be lifted from most smooth surfaces, even some fabrics. You can also get fingerprints in certain cases from very smooth skin if the test is performed within 16 to 18 hours. So I mean, I don't know if that's obviously given the time period that this was made. I'm sure that the whole process of obtaining fingerprinting and other parts of crime investigation, I'm sure that they've gotten a little bit more sophisticated and detailed over the years. But it's cool to actually read about this and know that, you know, the creator of these games, Shannon Gilligan, was very on top of doing her research. And I've said it so many times in previous installments, you're probably tired of hearing it, but I've got like this last installment. It came with a case that has a little bit of bio information about Shannon Gilligan and even some contact information for Creative Multimedia. Again, we're talking early 90s here, so who knows if the phone numbers and everything is still even accurate or a means to getting in touch with her, but we can try, right? So now that we're at the final installment, maybe we can make that part of the channel. So let's give it a try, I guess, right? Keep subscribing or keep liking the videos, and hopefully I can get some traction with this, right? So let's see, with serological analysis. This test analyzes any body fluids present at the crime scene, including blood and saliva. Blood analysis can determine blood type. Analysis of saliva can indicate whether the owner is a quote-unquote secretor or not. We learned all about that little word in previous installments of these virtual murder games. A certain portion of the population are secretors. If enough saliva is available, a blood type or a DNA fingerprint can be determined. Any of these pieces of information can help narrow down the suspects. And bloodstain pattern analysis. So when it's applicable to some of these scenarios. This analysis of the pattern of bloodstains can help determine the exact position of the victim at the time of the attack, whether the attacker was right or left-handed, the minimum number of blows, and the type of weapon used. Thankfully, this isn't costing us any time on the clock. Fiber analysis. This report will help identify clothing worn by the murderer or furnishings the murderer may have recently been in contact with. This is done through analysis of the fibers found on and near the victim's body. Let's see here. Wound pattern analysis. This test can help determine the cause of death, whether the murderer was was right or left-handed, and the type of murder weapon used. The test is particularly useful with gunshot wounds. Probably to identify a caliber of bullet. A luminol test. This test involves applying a luminescent agent to clothing, carpeting, glass, or wood, and will reveal the presence of blood. For anybody that watches any of the Gordon Ramsay show, Hotel Hell, we've learned that the luminol test can also help us, to spot a lot of other types of problems with hotel rooms and not just blood. That's as far as I'll go with that one. So a luminol test can reveal a bloody footprint in mud or on a dark carpet, or bloodstains on very dark clothing that would not otherwise be visible. And we got the last one here, the miscellaneous. Additional information. This report will provide additional information not covered in the other forensic exams. Information provided includes additional physical evidence present at the scene of the crime. Just noteworthy stuff, I don't think we get anything from Lucy yet. No. So we go back. And so in this murder scenario, like we saw in the report, so she's been attacked here near this drinking fountain. We know that there was that picture that was found near the scene of Taylor, and there was someone had scratched. It was like looks like an old Polaroid picture of some sort that was scratched over Taylor's body with made an X motion. So this is potentially a crime of passion. So if you notice, we can't obviously do anything here, but we can zoom in. Let's see if we can start with, I guess, getting right to the head here. So obviously they put a little bit of detail into this scene. It shows that while we know that she was attacked from behind, because there's a back of the head wound, obviously when she landed, it didn't exactly help matters. So it looks like everything that's highlighted is what we can test. So let's start with the blood. So these tests actually do eat up time. So serological analysis, the blood matted in the victim's hair is her own, which I guess is not a shock. Fiber analysis, there are small amounts of grit embedded in the victim's head wounds, may have come from the murder weapon. So we're dealing with potentially it's something gritty, or while there's just gravel on the ground here, we're maybe thinking of possibly a bigger object of some sort of stone, concrete, something of that nature. And down to this. Miscellaneous. The victim was hit on the right side of her head. She was also probably hit from behind while bending over to take a drink at the water fountain. To hit someone in the head with enough force to create this kind of trauma means that the murderer was strong and probably right-handed. Okay. So we know as we learn more about the suspects in terms of the non-testimonial evidence, things that we'll find out about their shoe size, their left or right-handed status, things like that, we'll need that for this type of stuff. And so we can back up. Back here, so let's see if we click into her side area. Can't zoom in anymore, but it looks like she's pointing towards her fanny pack here. But let's see what we can get from fingerprints. There are a set of unidentified fingerprints on the inside of the victim's left arm. There are also slight bruises, as if someone grabbed her very hard. Okay. All of the blood on the victim's shirt and shorts matches her own. So I think we're finding out that obviously any of the blood that's on the scene here, especially considering what we were told about her being hit from behind while taking a drink, shows that there likely wasn't any kind of struggle here. It was all kind of a one and done attack, with no chance for her to really retaliate in any way. So that looks to be the only tests we can conduct from this angle. Speaking of the fountain and taking a drink, let's see if we can zoom in on there. Apparently we can't. Can't go to that hand. And I guess since there was no struggle, I'm sure we wouldn't be finding anything like any like skin fragments under her fingernails or anything like that. Can't click on her pockets. No. Alright, anything over here? No, it looks like the bloodstain or something right in this area. Guess we'll click all over. No. So let's get this. What does this say here? Alright, footprints, which were found in the mud next to the body, belong to someone who wore a men's size 10 sneaker. Footprints of the victim may have been identified as well as those of the person who found her, Joni Armistead, who was walking her dog. So I'm sure there's some paw prints as well. Okay, so that looks like everything we have from the crime scene for this scenario. And we're now at 5 hours 30 minutes left in our gameplay. Although we know how to get around that. So let's go. Before we go to our suspects, actually, we'll take a look at our suspects. All right. Without giving too much away, we are going to have 2 out of the 3 murder scenarios where we have these 8 suspects. In the third scenario, there's actually 9. And it's funny how they incorporated a 9th suspect into the storyline. It makes sense. And it's another unique way to present the whole gameplay. And if you'll notice, and I can say this as another spoiler, all 8 of our suspects here, and the 9th in the third scenario, we are finally lacking the presence of our buddy Edward Talaman. He's no longer a suspect and no longer even present for any of this game, unfortunately. I liked him. He seemed to be like the constant and almost in a comical way. But Edward must have overstayed his welcome, I suppose. So, and one other interesting note, while a lot of these, I'm sure all of these actors have different roles that they played in various media, one person that is a return, just in a different role, is this gentleman here who's playing Senator Parker. If you'll remember from the Brett Pennance case, he had a much more minor role in that case, where he was just one of the many people that we interacted with on Brett's route to the beach. He was actually working at a gas station and giving us the time that he was there to fill up his tank, and it was a very, very short interaction, but clearly he impressed somebody involved, because he now has a suspect role with a lot more meat on the bone. So, all right, so let's go ahead and I guess we can get these interviews out of the way. Let's start from the top left. We'll go from left to right, and we'll start with Mike Bird.
Your name and occupation?
Mike Bird. I'm a trainer down at the Edgecombe Sports Center. I'm a part-time cop. I fix cars when I feel like it.
What was your relationship to Taylor French?
Info guy. Between Sam's, my police work, and the gym, I seen her a lot. And, we hit the hay a few times.
According to my sources, that wasn't always the impression you gave people.
What do you mean?
A former co-worker came forward to say that you used to say Taylor French was your girlfriend. He described you as obsessed.
Look, I might have said we dated, but I never called her my girlfriend, and I wasn't obsessed. What jerk said that?
I'm sorry, but I can't reveal his name. When was the last time you saw her?
Yesterday at the gym. You know, Taylor had a phobia about dying a violent death. It was, around 5:30.
Who do you think murdered Taylor French?
Could have been a lot of people. Taylor had a knack for making people angry. For example, folks that run landfills aren't known to be friendly, especially when your expose helps get the gravy train closed down. It could be Owlie and Nettie. Or a hitman he hired. Or it could be some new leads Taylor was working on, and they got a little too hot.
Do you mean the battering series?
No. Something even more recent. Taylor was on the trail of something having to do with Senator Parker. She wouldn't say what.
Where were you between the hours of 7 and 10 last night?
I was at Sam's. Ask Ed the bartender. I was there from 6 till 8. I had a little free time waiting for Molly, a waitress there, to get off. So I took a spin in the car. It was a beautiful night. I was back by the time she got off her shift at 9.
Where did you drive?
Down to the reservoir and back.
Did you see anyone on your way?
Not anyone I knew.
Thank you, Mr. Bird. We'll be back in touch.
Whatever.
Okay. I don't know if you guys noticed a couple of things about that interview. One, when he asks what jerk told us that he was obsessed with Taylor and that he was calling her his girlfriend, Lucy kind of let it a little bit slip where she said, I'm sorry, I can't reveal his name. Oh, so it's a guy. All right, so that narrows it down. And the other thing, too, he actually mentions part of his alibi was that he was at Sam's the night of the murder, which is that a little nod to Sam Rupert's restaurant? Like, is this all one big universe? I'd like to think it is, you know. I'd have to look up. I think it's the bartender was Blake Farron, I believe. It's not Ed Farron, so yeah, so I guess it's interesting if they may have little nods to previous installments, you know. So we got Mike Bird's interview out of the way. Let's go to the next one. It's Brian Fitzpatrick.
Just to remind you,
Yes.
Detective, you've used 1 hour and you have 5 left.
The chief is the one constant throughout every single game of the Virtual Murder series, including all the audio clips of him reminding us how much time we have left. So.
Please state your name and occupation.
Brian Fitzpatrick, Chief of Staff, U.S. Senator Richard Parker.
How did you know Taylor French?
Well, we went to college together. Harvard. I went into politics and she became a journalist. Now, I like Taylor. Maybe admired's a better word. She was incredibly ambitious. Often at the expense of her subject matter. She was successful at closing down Al Leonetti's landfill. For all the wrong reasons. I mean, he had an excellent environmental compliance record. Excellent. And now she's lighting fires under everybody about spouse battering. We got over 50 calls in the office in Washington last week. Before that, probably not 3 a year.
At one point, wasn't Senator Parker implicated in Al Leonetti's landfill scandal?
The allegation that the senator urged the state reg board to go light on Arinka were never substantiated, and I believe that issue was dropped.
But you had words with Ms. French about it.
I remember.
We've had a report that you personally threatened her life.
Do you know what you're saying? The senator's a public figure, and he's accused wrongly all the time in the press. It's part of the job. If I went around threatening the lives of all the journalists responsible for false accusations, I wouldn't have time for anything else now, would I? And nobody from the senator's office, least of all me, has ever said anything like that.
But they did say something.
Quit trying to entrap me, detective. It won't work.
Where were you between the hours of 7 and 10 p.m. last night?
I was at the senator's office here in town. I often work late when I'm staying in Carthage. The senator had the flu. I drove down to the pharmacy and picked up his prescription. I was driving the prescription, and watched the 7 o'clock news. He went to bed, and I walked back into town and to the office, to the senator's office. I had a lengthy telephone conversation with Senator Harding in D.C., and I was back at the senator's house by 10:15. The news was shocking.
Thank you for coming. We'll be in touch.
Excuse me? The senator and I are due to fly out of here tomorrow morning.
I suggest for publicity's sake that you postpone it. It wouldn't look good if we had to call the senator back from Washington for further questioning.
My, detective. Your ability to play hardball is most impressive.
Well, I remember when I was playing this when I was younger, and I did not immediately pick up on the fact that he's portraying somebody that's got a bit of a drinking problem, like slurring his words and like kind of moving around and losing train of thought. But that's essentially what we're dealing with Mr. Fitzpatrick here. And up next is the person we saw in the report of the murder, and the one he's been referenced a couple of times now. Al Leonetti. See what we can learn about this whole landfill situation.
Please state your name and occupation.
Al Leonetti. I'm an entrepreneur.
Mr. Leonetti, what was your relationship to Taylor French?
Taylor and I were very close friends. Well, actually, Taylor and I were lovers for a little over the last 2 years. She and I split up after the Arinka scandal. I'm the owner of that landfill.
When did you last see her?
Last night. Just very odd. I know it seems a little suspicious. I called Taylor 2 days ago to see if we could talk. To tell you the truth, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I thought things had blown over. She had a new cause with a battered spouse thing. I went back hoping we could patch things up.
What time last night?
About 6:15, we met at her house. Sat out on the deck. I had a glass of scotch. She was drinking bottled water. She was on this new health kick. Running every night, laying off the fat. Wouldn't have lasted.
What did you talk about?
She was working on a new series on battered spouses. There are a lot of men out there she was very angry at. She wouldn't name names. She said she wanted to put some of them behind bars. I told her that was her problem. She took things too much to heart. She told me my problem was that I, and many others, couldn't tell wrong from right. Well, it started an argument. She got up and told me she had to go. She had work to do. She put a tape in her Walkman and walked me to the door.
Where did you go after that?
Went to Josie's for some Mexican food. I don't live at home anymore. My wife and I split up after the landfill scandal. After dinner, I went to my house. I got home about 9 o'clock.
Was anyone else there?
No, I live alone. Oh, come on, detective. I didn't do it. I may be a lot of things, but I'm not a killer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leonetti. We'll get back to you if we need to.
Sure. Good luck.
Another one where a little name dropping where he said he went to Josie's for some Mexican food, and Josie was one of the suspects, well, not exactly a very interesting one, in the Taylor French murder mystery that we had, the Magic Death. I wonder if that was just a little nod to that character, since she didn't really get a whole lot of weight in that area as a suspect. And next up is Barry Mitchell. Almost at 4 hours here of gameplay, I should say. It's only really about 35 minutes that we've had on this upload thus far.
Please state your name and occupation.
I'm Barry Mitchell, and I'm a reporter with the Carthage News, and I've been there for 8 years.
What words would you use to describe Taylor French?
Oh, ambitious, avaricious, aggressive. Shall we go on to the B's? Brilliant?
I take it you didn't get along.
Well, you take it right, detective. You see, Taylor wanted all of the glory, and she would just go to any length to get it. And she had Marilyn Underwood under her thumb. Because of that, she could just simply get away with murder. Pardon the expression. Take the famous solid landfill waste series, for example, that closed down the Leonetti landfill. Well, no one seemed to mind that Taylor was getting her information by sleeping with the landfill owner, who was very married, by the way.
If she was having an affair with the owner, why would she write scathing articles about him?
Oh, well, classic Taylor. It's like conflict of interest, really, wouldn't you say? She told me that it was because he lied to her. And, of course, she found his ties with the mafia despicable. But personally, I think she was just angry because he wouldn't leave his wife. And I think Taylor was really just madly in love with him.
Mr. Mitchell, at least one person has described your relationship with Miss French as hostile.
Well, how would you feel if someone scooped all your stories? You see, Marilyn originally assigned the solid landfill waste series to me. But Taylor came in and convinced her that she could work better with the environmental groups. And now, of course, her series on battering has preempted my series on the growing gay community here.
Yet you wrote her a note asking to get together on the day she was killed. Why?
Well, that was just terrible timing, I'll agree. But I wanted to ask her some questions about Senator Parker. And if you want my opinion about the murder, I believe that I would talk to him. Because, you see, I think that Taylor was his nemesis. And he must have been getting really nervous about something because she was meeting and getting something from his wife, Eleanor. And I just can't figure out what it might be. It certainly could have been that little affair with his attorney and felon, Roberta Dudash, because that was in People magazine, for gosh sakes.
Where were you between the hours of 7 and 10 last night?
Well, let's see. Oh, I was at my friend Paul Miller's house. I went there about 6:45, and we drank some wine. And then we drove to the theater, and the film started at 8:15. We saw Billet and Poke, and it was really a wonderful film. You should see it.
Can you think of anything unusual? Anything that sticks out over the past few days about Taylor's schedule of habits?
Well, just Taylor having lunch with Eleanor Parker. You know, they met for almost 3 hours. And when she got back to the office, there was just something about the way Taylor acted. I'm not sure what it was. She was just elated and fluttering about. I think maybe she had something on him at that point. Like she was all stoked up. But it just struck me odd because she wasn't at all concerned about that batterer Washington like Marilyn would have you believe. Because you see, this really isn't the first time that a reporter's been threatened over a story.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Now listen, you know, I certainly had my differences with Taylor, but I'm truly sorry that she's dead. I truly am.
Yeah. I'll only believe that begrudgingly, I guess. It seems like it was just got a lot of lip service there from Barry, but let's see. So we got 4 down, 4 to go here, and we got plenty of time on the clock. Probably going to cut this upload off when we get closer to the hour line, so that way we have enough space in between installments. Oop, see?
Excuse me. There are 4 hours remaining to solve this murder.
So we're going with Senator Parker's wife, Eleanor.
Your name and occupation.
Eleanor Parker. I'm married to United States Senator Richard Parker.
You were there when Taylor French's body was found last night.
Yes, I'm still quite shaken up. Actually, my neighbor found her. I was out walking. I couldn't have been more than 200 yards away. I didn't hear or see anything. It has been a traumatic 24 hours, I can assure you.
Did you fall down or hurt hurt yourself last night in the excitement?
You'll have to excuse my appearance. I'm afraid I had a little accident the other night. I walked into the bathroom door in the middle of the night.
Did you know Taylor French well?
I can't say that I knew Taylor well. She first came to my attention with a series she was writing on battered women. We get all the local papers in Washington. When I read her first installment, I promised myself I would do something. I gave a little money to the local center here and some toys to the children of these women. I invited Taylor to lunch. She was so bright and courageous, but so, I don't know, sympathetic. And most of the press I see, they're monsters. So we had lunch together, and I encouraged her to continue with her work. For something like this to happen.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Barker. We'll be in touch if we have more questions.
Of course. May I ask you a question, Detective?
Of course.
I lent Taylor a book the other day, and I'd like it back. Would it be possible for me to get into her house and look for it?
Not without a police accompaniment.
Oh, okay. I guess I can wait.
Okay, well, clearly it's kind of, I don't know, it's almost a little bit too on the nose, or in Eleanor's case, on the cheek, but it's, the more we're hearing about Taylor French's, special articles on spouse battering and looking into something involving Senator Parker that doesn't involve him cheating on his wife, I think we can kind of put two and two together that maybe there's some possible issues going on between the senator and his missus, that maybe Taylor was trying to expose him, and let's find out from the man himself, Senator Parker.
Your name and occupation?
My name is Richard Parker. I am a United States Senator.
How well did you know the victim, Taylor French?
Well, I don't really call Carthage home, but actually I spent most of my time in Washington, D.C. I know her for 5 or 6 years, ever since she was a neophyte in the newspaper business. She was sharp. She could have had a great career. But, if we spent much time together, no, we didn't spend much time together, that's what you mean.
Weren't you considered enemies?
No. Let's just say that we didn't agree on much, but enemies, no.
Didn't she implicate you in the Orinka landfill scandal 6 months ago, Senator?
Well, she tried, unsuccessfully. As you know, I was re-elected in the meantime.
Can you tell me more about the landfill episode?
Well, yes, my friend Al Leonetti has landfills all across the country. Now, Taylor French discovered through unethical means, I might add, that he had brought in a little toxic waste and buried it. And also he had a long-running feud with the state over how to line the landfill. And where she tried to get me was I invested little money in Al's business just a few years before.
Senator, a colleague of Taylor French has hinted that she had something on you. Something that could potentially destroy your career. Do you know what he's talking about?
Oh, those reporters. Detective, that is your job. Whatever it is, I am innocent.
Can you tell us where you were between the hours of 7 and 10 last night?
Why, sure. I was home in bed with the flu. My chief of staff ran out to the pharmacy to get a prescription around 7 o'clock, or maybe it was a little before. And he came home, we stayed up to watch news, and I went to sleep. I think he stayed around a little while to work. He can confirm that I was home in bed. Detective, I do have the meeting in 5 minutes, and I'm due to fly back to Washington today, so...
I'm afraid, Senator, we'll have to ask you to stick around another day or two.
Detective, I have been most cooperative. This is absurd.
I think it's in everyone's best interest to have you stay, including yours, Senator. We'll be as prompt as we can. One other question, sir. Where was Mrs. Parker yesterday evening?
I do not know. First time I saw her, she came home with Joni Armistead, completely distraught over having discovered the body of Taylor French.
Thank you, Senator. We'll be in touch when we have more questions.
It's been a pleasure.
Yep, he clearly was not interested in being too cooperative. You know, very, very political in terms of his tap dancing around the issues. And let's go to the next to last suspect, Linda Roth.
Please give your name and profession.
My name is Linda Roth. I am currently unemployed. I get a disability from Social Security.
What is your relationship to the deceased?
I was Taylor's best friend. We were like sisters. I came out here and ended up staying. I lived 3 doors down from her.
Are you sure you were best friends?
What are you talking about?
Miss Roth, we've had reports that, in fact, Taylor French used every means possible to avoid you, and that she did not consider you to be friends.
No, that is not true. I don't know who's telling you that. That is not true. Taylor. Oh, God. Taylor loved me. She did. She loved me.
When was the last time you saw Taylor French alive?
2 days ago. It was in our parking lot at the condo. We made plans to have lunch together.
Since you're unemployed, do you spend most of your time at home?
Yes, generally. Why?
Did you see anything or notice anything unusual near the apartments yesterday? Anything that sticks out?
Yeah, that Al Leonetti, whatever his name is, that lech. He was hanging around all afternoon waiting for Taylor to come home. He's a pig. I don't know why. She didn't want him back.
What do you mean, hanging around?
He was driving around, cruising, looking up at apartment with soulful eyes.
Did you see him get out of his car?
Yeah, once or twice. He went somewhere I couldn't see him.
Did you notice what kind of car he was driving?
I don't know. I'm not very good with cars. Maybe it's Lincoln Continental. Blue. Possibly it's dark. Yeah, I don't know. He owns about 10 cars.
Where were you between 7 and 10 p.m. last night?
I was at home. A friend of mine, Helena Thomas, came over and we watched a rented video about special paint techniques. She was redoing her dining room.
That will be all for now. We'll be back in touch if we have other questions.
That one, potential psycho, but nothing popping up to make Lucy any brighter on here, so I guess we're not going to get any follow-up details after these interviews. But last but not least, Mr. Tom Washington.
Detectives
Yes.
are halfway there. The autopsy should be ready by now, shouldn't they?
Should she? So Mr. Washington, we found out, he's one of the people that he's under the impression he's being the focus of one of Taylor's articles about spouse battering. Even though he hasn't been named, he's convinced that he's the one that's being targeted.
Please state your name and occupation.
Oh, my name's Tom Washington, U.S. Postal employee.
Mr. Washington, were you stalking a certain Taylor French over the past week?
I wasn't following to kill her. Look, my whole life has changed ever since my wife met that woman. I mean, my child gone down to a abandoned center, stupidest thing I ever heard of. I mean, what about abandoned husbands and fathers? I'll tell you about battering. She nags me all day, drives me berserk. So what if I followed her?
Don't you know it's against the law to stalk?
Look, I was just trying to scare the bitch. Look, I wouldn't have touched her.
What time did you leave your stakeout at Taylor's condo, and where did you go?
Look, I started watching the place about 7. When I left, my truck clock said 8:15. I went down to Debbie's Diner, ate a hamburger, simple as that. And then I went home. I got home 9:30.
Do you know that Miss French was killed at approximately 8:40?
Oh, hey, just my luck, huh?
Can anyone at the diner vouch for you?
Yeah. Maybe Denise can.
Thank you, Mr. Washington. We'll be in touch when we have more questions.
And again, this is, I can't remember when it was at its peak, but there was, you know, an expression back in the day about someone going postal, where, for whatever reason, U.S. postal workers had this stigma about them being, you know, really easy to fly off the handle, and I don't know if it's just because a couple of them decided to open fire in their workplace or what the case was. And this is early 90s. I don't know if this precedes that or not, or if it's just happened to be a coincidence that he's a U.S. postal employee. But we saw what we saw. Very, very erratic. Alright, so we got all the suspects covered. So we're at 51 minutes. Let's see. You know what we'll do? We'll get our alibis followed up here. We'll get all these covered, and I think we'll call it after we get these, so we can get a fresh start in the next installment, looking at the witness statements. Start with Mike's alibi here. We'll hear from Lucy Farewell about each of them.
Mike Bird wears many hats. He says that on the eve of the murder, he was at Sam's bar from 6 until 8 p.m. He had plans to meet one of the waitresses at Sam's, but got bored and left. From 8 till 9, he was, in his own words, out for a spin. He claims he drove to the reservoir and back. He has no one to verify this. Dan Whitmer covers the reservoir in his patrol car. He says he didn't see anyone in the parking lot from 8:20 to 8:45 when he was there. Bird reports going back to Sam's, which was verified by bartender Ed Murphy.
So we know, yeah, even the last name of the bartender wasn't the same as the bartender from Who Killed Sam Rupert, but one can only hope it's the same Sam's. So, all right, so Mike's alibi is not exactly concrete. Let's try Brian Fitzpatrick's alibi.
Brian Fitzpatrick did go to the pharmacist at 6:30ish to pick up an antibiotic for the senator. The pharmacist remembered him. Fitzpatrick then reports watching the news with his boss. He claims that after Senator Parker went to bed, he walked into town to do some work at the office. I haven't found anyone who saw him walking to the office. However, Senator Harding confirmed that he was in a telephone discussion with Fitzpatrick between 8 and 8:45 p.m. the eve of the murder. He arrived at the Parkers around 10:15. This alibi would not hold up in court.
Yeah, a lot of gaps in between, I suppose. Alright, so let's give Mr. Leonetti a try. I feel like we'll have the same answer where there's some noticeable gaps here and there.
This suspect's story has some holes in it.
Yep.
His fingerprints were found on Taylor French's Walkman and upper right arm. And there are small bruises formed under the prints on the arm, showing he used some force. He was at her house until almost 8. He said that after that, he went to Josie's for Mexican food, then went home. A waitress at Josie's remembered him, said he left a big tip. She just can't remember when. She thinks it could be around 8:30 or so. But when I asked her the first time, she suggested nearer 9. Another interesting note, he said he was driving his black BMW that night, but another suspect, Linda Roth, claims she thought she saw him in a Lincoln Continental.
Okay. So that's without us getting any other results separate from, aside from Lucy here. Lucy confirmed that that Leonetti's fingerprints were actually the ones that were on the inside of Taylor's arm as well as the Walkman, and that Leonetti's grabbing of Taylor's arm is what led to those bruises. So one could think when he was telling us while talking to Taylor about potentially patching things up and about both of their work and right from wrong, if they started an argument and she tried to leave or walk away from him, maybe he stopped her, and that's what led to those bruises. Whether or not it went beyond that, I guess we will find out in time. But let's see how Mary Mitchell's alibi is holding up here.
This suspect reports being at a friend's from 7 until 8. The two went to a movie that started at 8:15. Their presence was confirmed by the owner who saw them enter together. Mitchell also produced ticket stubs. The movie ended at 10:15 p.m. He's got a good alibi.
Right. I'd say that, unless someone were to say that they saw him ducking out to go use the restroom or what have you during the movie, he's in a theater seat for the duration of the time that Taylor French is being murdered. So thus far, Barry Mitchell seems to have the best alibi of the bunch. Let's try Eleanor.
It's your chief speaking.
Yes.
Only 2 hours left to solve this murder. The Chamber of Commerce is having a conniption fit about this. They say murder is all wrong for their vacation image. You're telling me.
Yeah, it's the exact same audio clips as it was during Brett Penance's murder, and that we were being told about the Chamber of Commerce having a conniption fit. So apparently that doesn't matter which town setting we're going with.
Eleanor Parker, wife of the senator, was extremely upset by having a murder occur so close to her house. She reports having dinner at Rendezvous last night. She had the fish and 2 glasses of wine. This story was verified by 2 waiters, except they said she left at 7:30. She said she left at 8:30. In any event, she was walking in the park at the time of the murder. Joni Armistead said she called to ask Eleanor along on her dog walk and was told by Brian Fitzpatrick that Mrs. Parker was already in the park. It's not a very good alibi.
Yeah, not a good alibi at all, because it's placing her right there at the crime scene. Yikes. So right now Barry Mitchell's got the best alibi. Eleanor's got the most damning of alibis. Senator Parker.
Senator Parker went to bed with the flu at 7:30 or so after watching the news with his deputy assistant, Brian Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick went to the pharmacist at 6:30 to get an antibiotic for his boss, and that was verified by the pharmacist. His story matches the senator's. But what's odd is the senator said he was awake when Mrs. Parker came home, and that wasn't until 9:30. And Fitzpatrick is obviously an interested party. He's a loyal lieutenant, and he's going to protect his boss. This alibi is not airtight.
It's funny. I almost look at the situation with Senator Parker as being similar to the one we had with the Brett Penance case, where you have the real estate guy that's a suspect, but he seems like he's almost kind of too far removed from actions that he has other people carry out for him. So one would think if you're a U.S. senator, you wouldn't be necessarily carrying out dirty deeds like this on your own. You'd have maybe your assistant do it. But who knows? Let's give Linda a try here.
Linda Roth reports that she spent the evening with a friend watching a video. But Helena Thomas, a woman who lives in the same condo complex, did not arrive until after she put her 2 boys to bed. Their bedtime is 8:30. This means that Linda's time is unaccounted for near the time of death. The spot where Taylor was found is only about 5 minutes by car from the condos. Roth could be our murderer.
Okay, yeah, so that's another one that's... A lot of these people, just aside from Barry, really, there's all these open holes and times that they could all have kind of maneuvered their way into the crime scene and maybe made their quick getaway. Let's see what Tom's Washington's alibi, if it checks out or not with this waitress.
Nobody remembers seeing Tom Washington at Debbie's Diner last night, even though he's a regular. He admits that he was staking out Taylor's condo until almost 8:30. He has absolutely no alibi to speak of.
Okay, so there you go. Some people have an alibi with some holes in it. He just has basically nothing. All right. So, we are just now going over the 1 hour mark. So we've covered the report of the murder, we've looked at the crime scene, done some tests, interviewed all 8 suspects from this particular scenario, and we've checked out their alibis. So I think what we'll do is we'll call it a day here, and we will pick up in the next installment by interviewing our witnesses and look at the other sources. And depending on how that goes, we might even venture into our press conference and see if we can get the ball rolling on finding out who our murderer is. All right, in this case, this is Beacon of Hype. Thank you guys for coming back and checking out the videos. Please feel free to, hype the channel and let other people know about the gameplay that we're putting together here. And I'll see you next time. Take care now.